You got your mama's sunshine, you got your daddy's rain. You're like a piece of heaven in a hurricane.
Hey guys, what is up? I'm in the kitchen today, and what we're making is very special because it was requested by my friend Kay Marie for her birthday, which is coming up real soon. So, we're actually going to be making two things. We're going to be making a cake, a chocolate cake, and cake pops because we need the cake to make the cake pops. But if you're watching this recipe, you can always just make the cake and decorate it for someone else's birthday. Now, on to the ingredients. First up, for our cake, which is actually chiffon cake, which is fluffier and yummier and softer, we have our cake flour. It's about 80 grams or 2/3 cup. It's important to use cake flour because cake flour is what keeps the cake fluffy instead of making it dense, which is what would happen if you were to use all-purpose flour. Our next ingredient is baking powder. Not baking soda, baking powder. This is around 5 grams or 1 1/4 teaspoons. Our next ingredient is our cocoa powder. So, this is around 40 grams of cocoa powder or a half cup. And next ingredient, our granulated sugar. This is 130 grams, but it is also 2/3 cup. Later, by the way, this granulated sugar, we're going to use half for the egg whites, which adds fluffiness to the cake, and then the other half goes to the egg yolks. And then we have 5 eggs. And then we have a 1/4 cup of oil. And then we have a 1/3 cup of milk, or you can use water. Okay, so the first thing we should do is mix our dry ingredients, which is the cake flour, the cocoa powder, and the baking powder. And then you take a fork and just mix, mix, mix. Then we're gonna put this off to the side for later. Then we need to separate our egg yolks and our egg whites. Ooh. You can use the shells to separate them, but I like to use my hands so I don't crack the egg yolk and I can control it. Yay! Now we're gonna do that for the next 4 eggs.
Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday through Thursday and Friday and Saturday too.
Now we're gonna whisk our egg yolks until they're nice and smooth. Now we're gonna add our granulated sugar, but like I mentioned before, we only need to add half of it because the other half is going to go into the egg whites to help it whip up.
Monday
now we're gonna
Tuesday,
whisk this until it's nice and smooth. Now that it's nice and white and yellow, I'm gonna add the oil first. And then I'm gonna add the milk. Okay, so now what we need to do is we're gonna take our dry ingredients that we set aside earlier and we're gonna sift them through this sifter into the egg yolks, and then we're gonna mix them together. So a little bit at a time. We'll start with maybe half of the dry ingredients. We'll sift it. Doot, 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 doot. Now we mix our egg yolks and our dry ingredients until it's nice and smooth. Mix, mix, mix. This is almost ready, but there's one component that's missing, which is the most important part of making a chiffon cake. The egg whites. It gives the cake air and fluffiness, so it's not dense, which is what we're gonna make next. So now we're gonna make our egg whites. First, I'm gonna whip it up until it's nice and frothy, and once it's nice and frothy, I'm gonna add granulated sugar. Okay, now that it's nice and frothy, look at all, you see all the little bubbles and it's nice and bubbly and frothy. I'm gonna add a dash of cream of tartar to help it whip up, just a little bit, a specific amount, but not too much. And then, while it whisks and whips up, I'm gonna add my granulated sugar a little at a time.
Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday through.
So now our egg whites are done, and as you can see, most of the egg whites has stuck onto the whisk. And we know that this isn't overmixed because the egg whites are nice and glossy rather than being clumpy. So for the final and most important step of our chiffon cake making process, chocolate chiffon cake making process, we're going to mix the egg whites using a spatula. I'm going to move it into the wet ingredients, which is the chocolate mixture from earlier. We're going to mix this to give our cake some air and some volume. Add a little bit more. You want to mix it until it's nice and smooth and fully incorporated. So to make sure that we don't overmix our cake, once we see that there's no more egg whites, no white chunks, no big chunky chocolate parts, then we can stop mixing. This is almost ready. Just give it a few extra whisks. Okay, so now we're gonna move our cake batter into our cake pan. I'm using this square silicone cake pan. My cake pan is equivalent to a 8-inch circle cake pan, which will fit your batter. So now we pour. So to get rid of any extra bubbles, we're going to take this cake pan and slam it onto the counter. Not aggressively, just enough. See? I'm popping all the bubbles. Now it's time to place the cake into the oven. Now, after 40 minutes actually, my cake is done. I'm gonna take this out and let it cool for half an hour, 30 minutes. So this is our cake, all done and cooled. It's beautiful, looks wonderful. I'm gonna flip this out onto some parchment paper. I loosened the sides already, so this should be rather easy, I hope. Whee! Beautiful. See, now if you didn't want to make cake pops, you could easily just use this cake recipe and make yourself a wonderfully delicious cake. Okay, so Right now, we're gonna move on to our cake pops. To make this cake into a cake pop, I'm gonna crumble the cake into a bowl. Just any bowl. Just crumble the cake, make it crumbly. Yes, I know, I'm destroying the beautiful square cake, but don't worry, it'll be amazing once more. So for the cake pops, say you wanted to make this cake recipe and you served it at a party, but there was leftovers. Cake pops can easily be made with leftover cake as well. You just do the same process, crumble the cake, mix in some ganache or buttercream, and mix until you can form little cake balls in your hand and coat them in melted chocolate. So, for the cake pops, we need to bind together the cake that we just made so we can form it into little balls. So we're gonna make a ganache. This is really simple. You need 1 cup of milk or cream. We're gonna heat this up, but not to a boil, just to a simmer. So, now that it has reached a nice simmer, I just turned off my stove. And so now I'm gonna pour this into my bowl, which I have prepared. It has all the chocolate chips. I'm gonna let that sit for 3 minutes before I stir it all together. Okay, so it's actually only been about a minute, but I got excited, so we're gonna stir this now. It's okay that I only waited a minute. My milk is cooling anyway, so I needed to stir it. I'm going to add this to my mixture of crumbly cake. I'm mixing it together, but I need a little more ganache, so I'm going to add a little bit more.
Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday.
See? Cake ball. Yummy! So now we're going to make little cake balls with our cake.
Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday through.
To make the chocolate that we're gonna dip these cake pops in, I made a double boiler, which is just water at the bottom and then a bowl on top. And I'm gonna put my chocolate chips in there, about a cup-ish. Now it's time to coat and decorate. Coat it nicely with some of that melted chocolate.
Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday through.
And then put your stick.
Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday through. Thursday and Friday and Saturday too.
Now I'm gonna put this in the fridge for about 30 minutes and I'll come back and get it and I will show you guys the final result. Okay, you guys, it has chilled for 30 minutes
Monday
or more.
and Tuesday.
Look at
and
that.
Wednesday
It looks beautiful.
Thursday and Friday and Saturday too. We'll look for a home that is just right.
It's time to taste test. This one is the almond one. It's so good. The inside is very soft and creamy, and the chocolate coating on the outside makes it even creamier. And the best part about it is it's not too sweet, which means when you eat it, you're not gonna get like, you know that irritated feeling if you've eaten too much sweets and you just wanna drink a lot of water because your throat is now irritated? No, it's not like that. It tastes really good. Plus, the added nuts outside gives it that nice little crunch at the end. I love how with the sticks, it's so much easier to eat and each one of these holds perfectly.
You got your mama's sunshine, you got your daddy's rain. You're like a piece of heaven in a hurricane.
Okay, you guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe by clicking that subscribe button down below. Also, we'll have our playlist here of all our other videos if you're interested in watching those. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye!